Good evening, everyone. I'm Lee Irby, private bank market leader for Bank of America here in the Bay Area, as well as co-executive sponsor for the Northern California Black Professionals Group. Welcome and thank you for joining the Oakland Museum of California for its Sonic Freedom programs brought to you by Bank of America. I've been a big fan of the Oakland Museum as it was a memorable part of my childhood throughout various field trips and visits with family. Bank of America is a longtime partner of the museum because of our missions aligning. We believe in the power of the arts to help economies thrive, educate, and enrich societies, as well as create a greater cultural understanding. And that's why we're here this evening, to learn about the incredible work of these California Afrofuturist artists. On behalf of Bank of America and the 5,000 teammates here in the Bay Area, we are thrilled you're joining us. Enjoy the program.
Hi, hello. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. My name is Rhonda Pignozzi, and I am the lead curator of the exhibition Mothership, Voyage Into Afrofuturism, and the public programs manager for our new Sonic Freedom series here at the Oakland Museum of California. Along with consulting curator Essence Harden and our amazingly talented OMCA staff, we launched Mothership on August 6, 2021, and it will be on view until February 27, 2022. Sonic Freedom series is an extension of the many rich collaborations, community partnerships, and themes that emerge from this project. The first of this series is Transformative Journeys, Tradition and Practice in Afrofuturism. The program will begin with a conversation between three supremely talented humans that I'm so honored to be acquainted with. First, we have Selam Bekele. Selam is an interdisciplinary artist, originally from Ethiopia and currently based in the Bay Area. Her interests include experimental cinema, quantum physics, and the poetics of everyday life. Her multimedia work titled Approaching is a stunningly meditative installation featured in Mothership. In this work, Selam experiments with spatial design, found footage, and images from her personal archive to tell an immersive story about fear, love, and courage. She is interested in dissolving the linear narratives by exploring organic time that moves in harmony with the motions of the sun. Her fluid use of sound, video, and performance has allowed her to create community locally and internationally as a filmmaker, artist, and curator. Selam also helped to participate in the 2-day brainstorming workshop, which helped to shape the content of the exhibition. Next, we have Sydney Cain. Sydney is a visual artist born and raised in San Francisco. Sydney's work honors those who have passed on and provides them with sacred sites to be reborn and reimagined as heroes in meta-realities. Sydney uses mixed media and moving images to act as ciphers to assist in decoding seen and unseen worlds. Sydney created the original mural for the entrance of Mothership. This work is titled Radio Imagination, and Sydney explains this work is a healing tool for people of the African diaspora, seeking to surface lost and stolen African myths of the ancients and the futurists. I would also like to add that Sydney's mural has a soundscape companion that was composed by musician Nicole Mitchell, and it was mixed with the help of Dolby Laboratories to create an immersive surround sound experience. You'll hear some of Nicole's soundscape here today, and Nicole will be performing via live stream from our garden stage next week for part 2 of our Sonic Freedom series. Moderating this conversation will be the fantastic Ashara Ekundayo. Ashara is a Black feminist, interdisciplinary creative arts leader committed to intersectional framework of social transformation that expands the influence and impacts of art and culture on racial equity, gender and justice, the environmental literacy that necessitates a practice of recognizing joy in the midst of struggle. Working internationally across cultural, spiritual, civic, and social innovative spaces, Ashara embodies a range of roles, including independent curator, cultural theologian, artist, creative industries entrepreneur, organizer, mentor, and mother. Ashara founded and currently stewards the Artists as First Responder, an organization and 6-point philanthropic interactive arts platform that reifies artists whose practices heal communities and save lives. Following this inspiring conversation, we will present a pre-recorded dance performance by the multi-talented Telice Summerfield. Telice is a professional turf dancer and a community organizer. Telice founded a dance company that fosters a global dance network to empower female movement artists by providing them with a platform to showcase their talent, secure opportunities, and connect with diverse dance communities of different styles, cultures, and backgrounds. In this video, Telice's carefully crafted vision will guide us through a journey through the exhibition Mothership. I hope you'll stick around to watch how she activates the gallery spaces and get a sneak peek of the exhibition at the same time. Now, please join me in welcoming Ashara Ekundayo, Selam, and Sydney Cain in conversation.
Peace, greetings, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
And
Well, again, my name is, yeah?
Oh, sorry. That's Selam Bekele. I just gotta say peace to
That's
my
right.
grandfather.
That's right. That's right. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Ashara Ekundayo. I am truly thrilled to be part of this conversation at the Oakland Museum of California with my sisters here, Selam and Sydney, as part of this Mothership Voyage Into Afrofuturism exhibition that Rhonda and Essence have expertly curated. So thank you, Rhonda, for your invitation and for the introductions, and gratitude for the entire curatorial and exhibition team. And thanks and congratulations to all the artists whose work is being featured in the exhibition as well, and for our folks running tech with us tonight. I am joining you all this evening from my birthplace, a city called Detroit, Michigan, which is located on the contemporary and ancestral homelands of 3 of the Anishinaabe nations of the Council of Three Fires. It is the home of the Ojibwe, the Ottawa, and the Potawatomi. And we offer a land acknowledgement knowing that if we are not Indigenous people, that we continue to benefit from the genocide and from the dispossession of Indigenous people, and that we have a responsibility to recognize, respect, and support the sustained presence of Indigenous people today. And so we ask permission daily as guests to live upon and to create upon this land. I also offer acknowledgement and gratitude to our African ancestors who guide and protect us. We welcome them to this circle and we offer them this cool water as a sign of respect. At this time, I want to offer space for both Sydney and Selam to give their own land acknowledgements before we ease into our hour of sharing. Sydney, do you want to go first?
I just wanted to honor that I'm in San Francisco on Ohlone land and give thanks for those who are still present and taking care of the land.
Yep. Aho. And Selam, where are you sharing from this evening?
And I'm speaking from Mexico City, the traditional land of the Toltec and the Aztec people. And I just want to give thanks for all the stewards of the earth.
Yeah. Ashe. Aho. Everyone, we are going to make time for Q&A after we talk and before we close tonight's discussion. As Rhonda mentioned, we close the circle with a movement offering by dancer Telice Summerfield. So please stay for that. Is there anything else you all would like to offer before I, move into the first question? Yeah, we're good? Okay. All right, it's a little thick. Okay, I want to begin this talk with some opening thoughts from each of you on Afrofuturism as a philosophical construct and its juxtaposition with the reality of Black people's existence within the United States and across the diaspora, and the political and institutional structures that we continue to live inside that stated we were never meant to survive. So when you get to the Oakland Museum of California, before you even get to the door of the gallery at the museum, you're greeted with an art piece, a proclamation by Alicia B. Wormsley that states, "There are Black people in the future." And so as many of us, we live in city centers grappling with rampant and violent displacement and gentrification against Black and brown people, and the fact that Black bodies are not able to move beyond neighborhoods for various reasons. So can you both talk about the imperative of creating safe, inclusive spaces for belonging as artists and Afrofuturists? Who wants to take that on? Sydney?
I keep doing the mic thing. Yeah, I guess I'll talk about it in respect to the installation at the museum, because I don't know, my experience coming from San Francisco, like the surrealism in that, when I was growing up, I was like, yeah, of all places here in San Francisco, how, what a juxtaposition of I don't know, in Blackness. But anyway, in regards to Afrofuturism and the way that I approached the installation, the intention was for people to go through this space and feel immersed, in regards to honoring the work of Octavia Butler, in where, in science fiction, you are literally building other worlds and other I could hear somebody just keep saying it, world. June Tyson, my partner, but recreating like a whole nother world. So, which is relative to my practice in thinking about other cosmologies and other ways of viewing a system, viewing ourselves in this system, and trying to remove that system, to remove yourself as a center of your being, right? So it's like sort of like trying to, I don't know, like carve out an existential question of like, what does it mean to be yourself in this world? And then what is it if, to that external world, in the anti-Black world, that your existence is sort of like always going to be chased after, even after death, and it's so crazy, such a crazy way. So yeah, that's what I was sort of thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Selam?
Yeah, and you talk about like removing yourself from these systems,
or placing yourself. I mean, what I'm curious about is how inside of your own identity as an Afrofuturist, the imperative around creating space, inclusive spaces that are about belonging for Black bodies, brown bodies, in a place where we weren't meant to survive. This mantra that there are Black people in the future, I think is really a consideration that everyone has the opportunity to consider as they're walking into this museum, into this institution, where sometimes there have been institutions that have not traditionally invited us to be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think at least within my work, and I guess at first, in terms of identifying as an Afrofuturist, I don't know if I directly identify. I think I'm inspired by the philosophies of Afrofuturism, but I think identity is a strong giving of self, and I don't really know if I identify with much of anything, but as far as within my practice, there is this specifically thinking about like the lifespan of an artist, and the I think early within my work I was thinking about Otis Redding, and I was thinking about even Basquiat, and how a lot of artists die in their late 20s, and how that is kind of ignored in the art world. It's almost like their work becomes more valuable, or they're celebrated in this way. They're almost like idolized and idealized, but their actual life and the suffering that they experienced in their life is not looked at with compassion. And I think that was something that I was just thinking about as an artist, and this like notion of martyrdom that is asked of artists often. And because of that, I think I was interested in like I was saying, like kind of removing myself a bit, and just thinking about the creative practice as a gift that can potentially heal myself and my community, and I guess that relationship between the gift of being sensitive or being creative, and perhaps having like creative abilities, and then the way that exists in certain spaces and certain institutions, and just trying to, I guess, potentially offer new logic systems that consider the life of an artist just as much as like the value of their work.
Yeah, I'm really appreciating. I'm appreciating the inquiry that you're offering here, because it also speaks to the commodification of artists and the commodification of Black people, our bodies, and our labor. And as you were saying, folks dying in their 20s, their work continuing to be offered up in community, and and what that has looked like in connection to our productivity and our value being placed together, and what that means as we consider the Afro now and the legacy that we leave and the conversations for the future. So some would say there is no Afro future, there is only the Afro now. So I think Sydney, we were gonna go to your slides, and we were talking about your work in the show and your thoughts on the divine feminine, your thoughts on spiritual practice and spirituality and the theology, and you brought Earthseed and the religion that is Earthseed to the conversation. And so, Ren, if you can go to Sydney's slide, that would be great.
So that was the installation with the soundscape by Nicole Mitchell, who's an amazing composer and creative musician. So when you're entering into the space to be immersed in sort of like this the intention of being immersed in this mythology, this storyline of this child who who was working in soundscape, who was working on an MPC, and they are guided by um, by these ancestors and these spirit guides. So I was thinking about the ways in which, Lauren Oya Olamina is also guided throughout this, throughout the parable series, in addition to like the all of Octavia Butler's other books, like the Pattern series, which I personally felt very like connected to. And thinking about extrasensory abilities, and Black people, in the ways that those have historically been very, you told to swallow them and that they're not real. And I think about that in relationship to the medical industrial complex and the violences, but also like this, the strange way in which it's still very much like a lot of the medicine is still, being harvested, I guess you could say. But anyways, all of that to say, also the center of the piece and the mural, on the right hand side, as you can go back to the slide, to the second slide, there is this being who is like a buffalo woman, and she has these acorns in her hands. And it's like as if they are to be presented to the viewer as like these options of community. So it also relates to your other like query Ashara, and the connection of community and the centering of community. And also like I would say like I don't know, not resurrection. I don't know what word it is, but like I guess new growth, like like grass. It always comes back. A lot of plants.
Regenerative.
Regenerative, but even more like trying to like resurrective force abilities, like yeah.
So chime in here, Selam, in terms of spirituality, religious practice, your thoughts, how that shows up in the piece, your film installation, and the whole, it is a whole site-specific installation. Talk about your design of that. And in my experience of it, it felt very much like a meditation. I felt like I was being guided through a meditation, and through a prayer.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that was definitely the intention. And that's how, going into the show in general, that's how I felt even walking through Sydney's piece as well. I think that there was kind of this like mystery and this like questioning that was happening as I was walking through that piece. And I intentionally, with designing my piece, I wanted there to be a break from the show, a kind of like rest stop that almost felt a little off rhythm, I guess. Like you kind of have to like make a few turns and then make like almost like a non intuitive turn a bit. And I guess I am curious about like the walkway and the design, the approach. The piece is called Approaching. And you were talking about resurrection, and I think I was really interested in that as well, in I guess like the rebirth or the transformative process of like shedding an old and beginning new. And I think that's kind of like the central theme in the work, particularly thinking about the sunrise and this like walk through the night. Of course, there's like the songs of David, the Psalms 23, I believe. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. That was something that was with me as I was making the work and thinking about, I guess, like the duality of fear and courage. And we could play a clip of my piece, the film. And I think that scene particularly is one of the scenes of the sunrise. And I think the sunrise particularly has like a kind of devotional prayer to it.
Unless I'm on one track, and I may be. Each of us is the possibility of a universal force, a complex being.
Yeah, in the beginning of that, since there aren't any subtitles, it's from a prayer that a man is making, and he's giving thanks. And I thought that particular place of having that sense of gratitude in the scene for the morning kind of worked.
There's a part of the piece where we're on the road, and then we see someone who looks like a father and a child who are looking out of a window.
Yeah.
You know, they're on a journey, they're on a trip, they're going somewhere. So there's that piece, and then we move into a piece where we're at the mosque. So can you speak a little bit about this journey, you know, towards a practice, towards a spiritual practice, and how that story is being told, you know, in your work here, and I think in other work that you've done that I've seen of yours as well.
Yeah, I've regularly been really interested in like the story of the traveler, and in Amharic it's called Mangadenya, or the traveler, the journeyman. So there's a lot of imagery of somebody on the road or someone on a plane, or even the soundscape is kind of like a walking, or I recorded a lot of gravel when I was driving, and I'm also interested in windows and kind of looking out of the window as like potential possibilities. And respect to mosques, but that was a Ethiopian Orthodox church, particularly an overnight service for Fasika, which is kind of the equivalent of Easter. And there's, you know, again, thinking about that overnight service, kind of like requiring an element of hope. And the father and daughter on the plane was something that I saw and was just really touched by. So it kind of reoccurs. And it's a girl basically showing, I think the father and daughter are kind of playing together, and they're both amazed at this sky and this sunrise that they're seeing from the plane.
Okay. It leads me into kind of like the next question. It's sort of a question. I'm working on it still. And it's about shifting cultural power and cultural narrative and financial resources. And I'm wondering how both of you, or if both of you, are listening for um, lessons from the present for artifacts for the future. If you're listening for an offering, an iteration for this stage of humanity, and if self-determination or the knowing and the necessity for us to take care of ourselves and collecting artifacts for the future, if that is a consideration in how you both tell stories. Because the story of the journeyer, is very much an archetypal kind of story, right? And this knowing that we move across plane, we move across through portal, we move across landmass, and over the water, and some of us under the water. So, can you speak a little bit about collecting artifacts for the future? To tell these stories of the journey.
I I'm like in the what you're talking about with listening, because I think listening is you collect information, and those are artifacts, right? Like when we talk to our elders, then we listen, hopefully. Or we listen to our inner selves. We listen to each other, hopefully. We listen, and all of that information hopefully is siphoned out to being, those gems. What they say, like, when an elder passes, like, a whole library, passes as well. I'm paraphrasing, but and that's sort of what I was thinking about with the installation, is because it's centered on listening, radio imagination. That was something that Octavia Butler just mentioned. Like she was like, I guess I have a sort of a radio imagination because I enjoy listening and filling in the gaps, not so much as television, but she was into what can you bring forth from speaking, and what kind of stories are you? So I'm listening to a lot of like audio books right now. I'm rereading like a lot of Toni Morrison and the storytelling, the gems of listening. And I think as much as we are able to share, we continue to share, whether it is through writing or creativity, drawing or film, whatever the medium is. I think those are also ways to leave artifacts.
Thank you. Thank you for that. What artifacts for the future are you gathering for us, Selam, in your film work, in your curatorial work as well?
That's interesting. Artifacts for the future. I think I guess going back to the story of the journeyman or the story of the traveler, particularly with this piece, I became a little bit more interested in the witness of the traveler. So like kind of like a sense of stillness in this motion that is happening. So there's intentionally seats in the installation, and those seats are kind of like a earthy dark red color that you sit on, and just offering a space for stillness and for meditation, as you were saying, Ashara, and of course for listening and listening to the self, and in that meditative practice. I don't even know if I believe in a future. I believe in like a deep presence. So I think that, I think Octavia Butler says that God is change. And sometimes I think about perhaps God is the changeless within change, or that witnesses change. Something still that notices everything as it changes, is kind of something that I've also been considering. So yeah, a lot of respect for the ancestors in terms of lessons learned and and I feel like a lot of those stories are already within us, and just a matter of offering a space for silence and a space for contemplation kind of allows these stories to kind of be.
Thank you. I've been watching the feed, and as of yet, we don't actually have any questions. I want to invite people to ask questions or offer reflections as well in the feed to either of the artists to talk about the exhibition. And as we're waiting for that, I guess I'll offer up my last question for the evening, which is really about getting free. I want to borrow this question from an artist's talk I attended last week at the Museum of the African Diaspora. There was a conversation with Chef Bryant Terry and the launch of his latest book, Black Food. And Shakira Simley asked, what is your vision for Black liberation? And what will we need to do for folks to truly get free, to be free? And I just want to offer that question to you all around Black liberation, and if Black liberation is somehow, in your opinion or even in your practice, connected to an Afrofuturist utopia, if there is such a thing. Is there space for that kind of consideration in your art practice? How are we gonna get for y'all?
For real. Nah, it's real. It changes every day. I feel like that answer. At this moment, it's presence. Like I'm gonna go. I feel like what Selam said about that deep presence. That's how I feel right now. Yeah. And it's such a, I don't know. That's such a big question. I'm thinking about my grandmothers, like, or my mother's mothers, like, for them, like being free was like leaving this earth, in whatever kinds of ways, which is kind of fucked up. What a beautiful earth it is, but
but of course, there's a whole theology. There are whole religious structures based around leaving this earth, right? Leaving this body, and that there's ability to travel, to be in another place, whether that place be considered or called heaven or hell or some other place in between. That idea of travel, and it may be time travel, it may be astral projection.
But then it's like, is that getting free, or is that like running? That's a whole other, like, I love this topic because that's a whole other like conversation too. It's a beautiful question.
Yeah,
it's a wormhole in itself. Yeah.
Are there some, Salama, what are there some traditional stories around freedom, in your background and your family in East Africa and Ethiopia? How do we get free? What do the elders say? What do you say?
I know it's interesting because the film, I guess the installation is called Approaching Space. The film itself is I Am Free. And I think that there's something about claiming freedom and affirming freedom within the self. There's also moments within the film. If you listen carefully, I would suggest, if anybody's going to the museum, maybe sit on the right side, because there's like a corner and you can kind of get close to the speakers. But there's this like ongoing mantra that happens overnight. where I am by the river, and I'm just repeating to myself that I am free. And it's a matter of claiming it too. You know, of course, there's systemic violence, and you know, not to deny that at all. You know, prison abolition and so much that work that needs to be done on an institutional level.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also just within the internal belief systems to claim one's own freedom. And I feel like that in itself can be a lifelong journey.
Yeah, I think that's why we call it a practice, right? It is a practice. Yeah, it is continual. It
Right, that we
moves.
constantly return to.
Yes, it moves all directions. It's a practice. So some might be considered a master teacher, or maybe they have reached a certain level of a professional, degree. But even those people are practicing. They're practicing law. They're practicing medicine, right? It's like we continue to be inside of our practice. I think we're gonna.
And we could affirm that within for each other as well.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap. We're gonna wrap, and I guess there's something for consideration. I mean, we've called Octavia Butler into the room a few times this evening, and there's so much conversation with all of the work that's part of the exhibition. There's so much sonic information that is also gifted, and this arriving, the moving through the portal, I think is important to note that the visual and the visceral and the sonic are meeting together, in your work. And that I think it allows a particular, it sets us up for a successful journey, that we walk through the portal from Sydney through your work to a poem by Octavia E. Butler that's juxtaposed a very beautiful large piece by Wangechi Mutu. And then we get to your piece, Selam, with some other work. And then we move through the mothership itself. And so I'm hoping that people if they're in Oakland, take the opportunity to see the exhibition. And I guess I want to close with this thought around habit and around persistence as we move into the video that is going to be offered by our comrade, the dancer. We close the circle with the dancer. And it's really about forget inspiration. Habit is more dependable. Habit will sustain you whether you are inspired or not. Habit will help you finish and polish your story. Inspiration won't. Habit is persistence and practice. So your practice, our practice, my practice, as we move together, in solidarity, I want to thank you for your time this evening, and thank you for bringing more questions to the table and release the ancestors who have come to sit with us at the table. And I guess we'll turn it back over to Rhonda and see what happens next. But is there anything that you all would like to say in closing? Because I definitely want to leave space for that to be part of this pulling the circle back together.
I just want to say thank you guys. Thank y'all's creative genius. And
yeah, thank you, Sydney and Ashara and everybody and Rhonda, the whole team. It's been a pleasure to be in space with you guys.
Thank you all for your practice and for your time and for your gifts. And we're looking forward to seeing more of your work in the coming days and weeks, because there's so much to see. So I think, Rhonda?
Yeah, hello, hi.
Hey.
Hey guys, that was so beautiful. I just thank you so much for your candidness and for grounding us in this beautiful conversation. I was so moved, and it was so meditative in a lot of ways. And so there was so much to absorb there. And I appreciate you all staying really calm during the technical issues. We got through it. And I'm just so grateful for all your time and your talent you shared with us tonight and always. And yeah, Sydney and Selam, your beautiful pieces in the show. I feel so honored that you agreed to participate in this project. And thank you, Ashara, so much for agreeing to moderate this beautiful conversation. And now we will, if you can all please join us in viewing the recording of Telice Summerfield as she guides us through her journey inside Mothership Voyage into Afrofuturism. Wow, that looks so beautiful. Telice, I hope that you're watching. Congratulations. And I just want to give a shout out to DJ Mitchell, who produced the music in the video, and our OMCA staff, Joelle, Claudia, and David Cruz for the camera work that day. I hope you all enjoyed the program tonight. Thanks to Ashara, Selam, and Sydney again. Please join us next week for our second portion of the series, Sonic Freedom, titled Afrofuturism and Sound. It will be a conversation between Nicole Mitchell and Paul Miller, aka DJ Spooky, moderated by Ellis Reed of Dolby, followed by a live jazz performance on our new garden stage by Nicole and her Black Earth Ensemble. And if you're in Oakland or planning to come out to Oakland to see, please come in and see Mothership Voyage into Afrofuturism. It will be on view until February 27th, 2022. With one note, due to the heavy rainfall we had this past weekend, Mothership will be closed for 2 weeks, unfortunately. There was no damage to any of the artwork. We're just taking some extra precaution to repair any potential leakage. But we look forward to opening back up again on November 5th. And in the meantime, please visit our website, museumca.org, for more information and to become a member. Thank you so much. Good night.